rated.
Hey now, this is what dreams are made of.
Brandon's coming back strong, apparently.
Hey now, this is what dreams are made of. I want somewhere I belong.
Is that what you listened to in Sweden the whole time you were gone?
Yeah, that's the Swedish national anthem, actually. What's up,
Every
guys?
Swedish person, once they found out you were American, sang it to you. Because they
Like,
think that's what we listen
we
to.
love Lizzie McGuire. What's up, guys? I'm back.
And he's talking to me, which means he hasn't listened to the last 2 episodes where I called him a bitch multiple times.
Oh my God, how dare you?
You're gone on my 30th birthday.
Girl.
I'm so pregnant.
Okay, let's just blame it on the hormones then, and I won't take it personally. How about that?
Whatever. I call you a bitch to your face all the time.
That's true. Kind of turns me on a little bit.
You call me a bitch to my face. It's fine. That's how we get along all these years.
Yeah, it's like a term of endearment. It's not like I'm being mean.
You should be able to call your friends bitches.
Exactly. If you can't call your friends bitches, who can you call bitches?
Real
Other than
bitches?
dogs.
I don't think that's a thing that you do, but okay.
So yeah, I was gone for a while. Now I'm back. I had a great trip. Thanks for asking, everyone.
I didn't say a word to him about it. I was just like, yeah, nobody wants to hear that shit.
Damn.
Like we haven't been talking for the last 30 minutes.
Yeah,
keep it. My image is a hard ass. It's fine.
It was a fantastic trip. Glad to be back home. But
is it nice to have night again?
Yeah, so maybe some of you don't know this, but where Sweden is higher up on the globe, or on the flat earth, whatever you want to say.
Listen, goddamn.
During this part of summer, they have like maybe 3 hours of night. And when I say night, I don't mean night. Like, it never gets like really dark. Like, it gets maybe like dusk kind of dark over there, but there's still light in the sky.
Fuck me up.
Yeah, it was nice for like doing stuff, but like they don't. Okay, so 2 things they don't believe in Sweden: air conditioning and blackout curtains. Yeah, and you have to keep the windows open or else it gets too hot, because global warming is fucking everything up right now. So there was
fucking blackout curtain. I feel like they would be fucking awash in blackout curtains.
No, none. They just wake up with the sun because they're insane and they're descended from Vikings and they just want chaos.
Sounds like hell. Well, I just want to sleep. Did you take like a sleep mask with you? Do they have a lot of sleep masks at least?
Not that we saw. We used them for sure, but yeah. I realized at one point that I couldn't wear a sleep mask and my CPAP. So I had to choose one or the other.
Do I want to breathe while I sleep? Or do I want to be able to sleep?
Well, the good thing about the CPAP is since I can breathe through the mask, I could just cover my head up with a blanket. So, But
it's hot as shit.
Yeah, exactly. Then it's too hot.
What the fuck?
Yeah. But no, it was a great trip. I love Sweden. I can't wait to go back there, and if I ever get the opportunity, I'm moving. So just
fair warning, guys.
Throwing that out there. But yeah, I have been trying to get my horror fix wherever I can. I just watched our friends over there are not huge horror movie people. So
you live in all this sunlight. Why not watch horror movies?
Well, in the opposite though is in the winter, it stays dark a lot of the time. So you gotta Yeah, and apparently in Sweden, like during the winter, like the coastal areas, it just rains. Like it rains nonstop for like 3 weeks at a time.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Forks, Washington. What was I
Like
saying?
I'm Eastern Kentucky right now.
Yeah, for real. Shouts out
So
to Eastern
yeah.
Kentucky. They're going through it right now.
If you got some money you want to donate right now, Eastern Kentucky is a good bet because they are fucked up, really
Yeah,
bad flooding.
for sure. It's
A
really
lot of
bad.
people lost homes and lives. So
Yeah.
Jesus.
RIP for real. Like no joke. Um, but yeah, they're not big horror movie people, so anytime that we were going to watch a movie, I would suggest a horror movie. And we watched two of my favorites, The Conjuring 2 and As Above, So Below.
Is it just because Owlman's in The Conjuring too?
Who?
Owlman. Is he in that one? This is the first one.
Owlman.
Yeah, from Watchmen.
Oh, the guy that plays Ed Warren?
Yeah.
Who the fuck refers to him as his role in Watchmen?
Me.
If anything, he was in Insidious before The Conjuring, which is a very
Listen,
similar.
don't make me look at my husband and be like, Tyler, who's Owlman? He's like, it's that guy that's in The Conjuring.
Okay,
I
just
will
because
fight you.
your little two-person ecosystem.
He knows all my shitty references. Are you fucking kidding me?
Owlman.
I can go tell him all my made-up names for Pokemon, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I thought you were literally talking about like a Mothman type cryptid, and I was like, are we talking about like
No, that
cryptid
fucking
cameos?
Kindle looking motherfucker.
Yeah, I can't remember his name at the moment.
Owlman. Got you.
Owlman / Ed Warren.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the other day I was on Facebook and I scrolled past one of those pages that that does like cryptids and things like that, and they put up a map of like different cryptids by state, and it wasn't every state, but it was like the cool ones.
Yeah.
And there was one for Mississippi that I had never heard of before, and I was very interested in. So today we're going to talk about the Pascagoula River alien.
I thought you were going to say we're going to talk about Ohio and the Loveland Frogman. My husband's from Ohio. I give him nonstop shit about the Loveland Frogman.
Listen, we've made some leaps in the past with what's considered the South, but Ohio is definitely not.
They call themselves the Midwest. How does that make any sense?
Yeah,
like you're a state away from the fucking ocean, dude.
I don't know, man. Americans have some pretty fucked up geographical ideas in their head, let me tell you. But yeah, so there's an interesting, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you kind of the synopsis of this event from Wikipedia, and then we'll actually go through an interview with one of the guys that was involved in the case.
Ooh, it's a case?
Yes, because it is it's one of those things where it got a lot of attention back in the day when it happened. And one of the people involved in the event never spoke about it for 50 years. He didn't say anything about it. So, you know, that's one of those things that I think lends a little bit of credibility, because it's like he obviously yeah, he obviously wasn't like, let me tell you all about this and you can read it in my book, and you know. So all right, so the Pascagoula, that's probably not right, so sorry y'all if it's not.
I imagine they pronounce things about like we do. So
the Pascagoula abduction was an alleged UFO sighting and alien abduction in 1973, in which Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker claimed they were abducted by aliens while fishing near Pascagoula, Mississippi. On the evening of October 11th, 1973, 42-year-old Charles Hickson and 19-year-old Calvin Parker told the Jackson County, Mississippi Sheriff's Office they were fishing off a pier on the west bank of the Pascagoula River in Mississippi when they heard a whirring/whizzing sound, saw two flashing blue lights, and observed an oval-shaped object 30 to 40 feet across and 8 to 10 feet high. Parker and Hickson claimed they were conscious but paralyzed, while three quote unquote creatures with robotic slit mouths and crab like pinchers took them aboard the object and subjected them to examination.
Did they get pinched?
Maybe.
Get on the ship.
Following the incident, Hickson, who was the older guy, gave interviews and lectures, appeared on television, including an episode of the game show To Tell the Truth, and in 1974 claimed additional encounters with aliens, and in 1983 authored a self-published book, UFO Contact at Pascagoula. Parker, who was a younger guy, later attended UFO conventions, and in 1993 started a company called UFO Investigations to produce television stories about UFOs. Aviation journalist and UFO skeptic Philip J. Class found discrepancies, quote unquote, in Hickson's story, noted that Hickson refused to take a polygraph exam conducted by an experienced examiner, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? We don't want to hear about the hoaxy shit. So yeah, one of the guys, the older guy, was like really all about, let me bank on this as much as I possibly can. And then the younger dude, Parker, was just kind of like more subdued about it. And all he really did was start this UFO investigation company. So to me, it kind of sounds like, you know, one of them is like, let me ride the fame train. And the other one's like, I kind of want to know more about what happened to me. At least that's how I interpret
Listen,
that.
with the he didn't want to take the test. I have such bad imposter syndrome that I would be terrified to take one after something happened to me, because I'd be like, what if it didn't actually happen to me and I'm crazy?
Yeah. No,
I'd be like, yeah, I know I'm good.
Well, I've never really understood that about polygraphs. Like, so if something didn't happen but you believed it did, will you still pass?
I feel like you would.
Because if you believe it, then that's your subjective reality, right?
My imposter syndrome's not good enough for that. I guess it's pretty bad.
Well,
I'd
you
be
are
like,
a
yeah,
millennial.
I know it happened, but did it?
You are a millennial.
Listen, it's how we've survived all these years. Vicious imposter syndrome.
Bruh. Can I not change the color of this stupid page? This is so bright.
Yeah, you look very lit.
Hey, I'm lit. All right, I'm just gonna have to read it in this stupid format. Okay. So this is an interview from countryroadsmagazine.com by Alexandra Kennan with Calvin Parker, who is the guy who was 19 at the time. This is from last year.
Oh, okay.
It is titled The Pascagoula Abduction, and it says nearly 50 years after becoming one of the most credible alien abductees in history, Calvin Parker shares his story.
50 years.
Right? It starts
back
off with
in my day.
Back in
I
my
started
day,
for you. Get going.
when people still got abducted.
They learned all they could from us, Brandon. They don't care anymore. They're like, ugh, these people.
Yeah, they assumed we were all just podunk cow farmers because everywhere they landed.
Would you want to abduct us?
No,
what are you gonna
absolutely
learn?
not. I'd be like, learn? Did you keep the receipt? It starts
with they've all been returned.
It starts with a quote here from Calvin Parker. It says, "For 46 years, I kept it a secret. I didn't even tell my wife about it. Calvin Parker told me in his thick Mississippi accent, referring to the evening of October 11th, 1973. That evening, Parker was fishing on the Pascagoula River with his friend Charles Hickson. It was his first day on the job at FB Walker and Sons shipyard, a job Hickson had helped him get. He was 19 years old, his wedding a month away, with aspirations to live a simple life. Quote, I wanted to get married, wanted to have children, wanted to have grandchildren, wanted to buy a house, retire, and fish. Said Parker, now 67, over the phone from the back porch of his current home in Moss Point, Mississippi. So the retiring and the fishing has come about, but it was a long battle to get there. The events the two men reported that night thoroughly derailed Parker's pursuit of a quiet, mundane life. It had all started when Hickson asked Parker if he wanted to go fishing after work. Parker, new to town, hadn't brought his fishing gear with him, so Hickson offered to loan him some of his. The men tried fishing in one location, but the swarming bugs prompted them to head back to the shipyard, where there were fewer lights to attract insects. Fun fact, LED lights do not attract bugs.
Really?
Because they don't put off heat.
Oh.
And that's what the bugs are drawn to. Not the light itself, but the heat.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, fuck.
FYI. Parker pointed out, quote unquote, posted signs to Hickson when they pulled up, but Hickson brushed off his concern about breaking the law. They walked down to the old pier, casting out their lines and waiting for a bite. I distinctly remember I was looking at a boat across. It was an old oar boat that they do the weather with, and it was made out of steel. And I was thinking to myself, now how does something made of steel float? Parker remembered. That's where my mind was, and that's when I noticed the blue hazy lights coming in from behind. You could see the reflection from across the water. Thinking the lights were the police, he turned to Hickson and said, Charlie, we're in trouble. You lied to me, and we're fixing to go to jail. When the men stood up and turned around, they said they didn't see police cars, but instead a long ovular craft floating around 2 feet from the ground, emitting a blindingly bright light. There was 3 bulky looking creatures. I still didn't know what they were, but they was coming toward us, Parker told the interviewer. By the time they got to us, I still couldn't see because the light was so bright. He described 2 of the creatures grabbing Hickson and one grabbing him, and that's when it carried me aboard the craft.
They're pinchers?
That's what I'm saying. I'm waiting for the pinchers to come in. Parker said the creature stopped at the door and injected him with what he described as go to hell shot. Whatever it was ushered him from absolute terror to a sort of peaceful apathy. Quote, I didn't care what happened then.
It's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
Cocaine?
Yeah. Parker described being taken aboard the craft down a hallway and into a room where the creature placed him on an examination table made entirely of glass. According to Parker, at that point, the gray, wrinkled creature that brought him aboard the ship left the room. Now, this is the point in which Scully would say, I still don't believe in aliens.
It happened to her and she doesn't believe in aliens.
Because she's dumb.
Goddamn Scully. Dumb. You're hot, but Jesus.
Quote, that's when something came out of the ceiling about the size of a deck of cards. He said the square-shaped object circled around him, making a series of clicking noises. I never thought about it until here lately, but it was like this MRI I was in, except the click wasn't that loud. And then it just shot back up in the ceiling. Then a smaller being entered the room, which Parker said made him feel more at ease. He couldn't move his body, but rolled his head toward the creature. She was normal, he said. Matter of fact, if I had been in a bar room drinking or something and was single, I'd have probably asked her out on a date. It looked just like a human, he explained, except for its middle fingers. Her 2 middle fingers were real longer than what an average person's would be. Parker recalled that without saying a word, the creature put its left hand on his jaw and opened his mouth. That's when she took her right hand and started running it down my throat, and I started gagging. She had scratched it up real bad and it was bleeding. It pulled its hand back out. Parker had the impression that it didn't want to hurt him anymore. Then it made a groan from deep within its throat. I don't know if you ever heard an alligator's mating call, where they vibrate the whole air around you, but that's how it sounded.
Ooh.
That's when the creature that Parker initially brought him aboard the craft, I really believe to this day it was a robot, he added later, returned and carried him back to the bank of the river. And that's where the story really starts, he said. And then my life turned pretty much to hell right after that.
Mm.
Parker said his first instinct, which Hickson initially agreed with, was to not tell anyone about what happened to them. Shaken and in shock, the men returned to the car to find the passenger door window shattered, though still in place in the frame. When they opened it, the glass fell out. Parker said that the car, which is relatively new and never previously had issues, failed to start several times before it finally cranked. The motor sounding rough. On the drive back home, Hickson changed his mind. He thought they needed to tell someone about what happened to them despite Parker's protests. Hickson dialed Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi and briefly explained what happened to them before being told that they didn't handle UFO reports anymore.
They're like, no, we're sick of this shit. Got too many. Thanks.
Project Blue Book was finished, they said, and to call the local authorities.
Wow.
You would never catch me being like, no, don't tell us about your UFO story. I would be like, bitch, give me all the details.
The reason Brandon isn't a 911 operator.
That's true. I'd be like, girl,
he'd be like, ooh, tell me about it. And they're like, are the cops on the way? And you're like, yeah, hold on, just finish your story first. I need all the deets.
Tell me about it, big boy. Let's see here. There's a lot to this interview, but I'm gonna wrap it up here soon just because we don't have that much time.
Thanks, Zoom.
Yeah, thanks, Zoom. You're great, bastard. So at the Jackson County Sheriff's Department, the men were questioned separately about their experience, then put in a room alone together where they were secretly recorded. On that tape, they were still talking about what happened to them and how scared they were, said Philip Mantle, a researcher with over 40 years of experience studying UFOs. I think Calvin's almost praying at one time. Parker said that after the deputies listened to the secret tape recording, which he and Hickson didn't learn existed until much later, they took them more seriously. Parker urged, right? Well, now it is. I don't know about 72, but Parker urged the authorities not to tell anyone about what he and Hickson reported. I wasn't going to tell a soul, he emphasized, but when we got back to the shipyard the next day, they already knew. When they got to work, FB Walker and Sons shipyard was swarmed by news vans. Parker estimated that around 200 reporters were there hoping to talk to him and Hickson. Now, I've had to imagine that since this was within the same time frame, that everything that happened in Point Pleasant with Mothman, like 8 or so years before this, had to have fueled this a little bit with like the reporters going crazy.
Probably.
I mean, makes sense to me. So Parker went on to lose his job at the shipyard. He was hypnotized a bunch of times. Parker himself had taken polygraphs and passed all of them.
The other guy didn't want to tell him about the hot aliens.
Yeah. Parker said at one point that he wasn't sure who believed him and who didn't at the time, and he just avoided talking about it for a long time.
Yeah.
Now in his retirement and with Hickson having passed away in 2011, Parker is more open to talking about that night than he was before. His wife, Waynette, is largely to thank for that. This is despite the fact that decades ago, Parker's experiences on the river led to their brief divorce before they remarried. It was Waynette who encouraged Parker to write the books he has written, to stop going to such great lengths to avoid talking about the abduction. Yeah, okay. And then it's just talking about the books. But yeah. I find this so fascinating.
Yeah.
And this is definitely like, I kind of want to read this guy's books. I go away.
Right.
But just from what I've seen of doing my research about this, I don't think these aliens would be considered a cryptid if this was the only instance that anyone had seen these. And you know with the way these things usually happen, that there's like multiple sightings. So while we only focused on like the big one today, I'm sure there's others.
Yeah, we'll have to look and see.
Yeah, I'm sad that the pinchers didn't come into play there.
Right, I want to hear about the pinchers. You get pinched onto the board. On board.
But there are some really creepy sketches that were done, I guess, of their descriptions of the aliens, where they kind of look like, I don't even know how to describe them. They kind of look like Swamp Thing a little bit, with like these long arms that end in pinchers. It's
Is at least one of them hot?
No, they left out the hot one. I'm telling you, I think you were right. He probably just didn't tell anybody that he wanted to bang an alien. But maybe he told his wife. That's why they got divorced. I don't know.
She took him back when she realized the aliens weren't coming back.
Yeah, he's like, listen, Waynette, I had the opportunity.
Such a Mississippi name.
I had the opportunity to clap some alien cheeks, and you're really gonna get mad at me about that? She did the alligator mating call. How was I supposed to resist?
Clap some alien cheeks. Jesus.
But yeah,
aliens.
That is the Pascagoula river alien story.
Hot aliens. I love that he put that in there. He was like, she's really attractive. Yeah. I knew it was a woman because I found her attractive.
Yeah, it couldn't possibly have been anything else because I ain't gay. I swear, Wayne, it was a girl alien.
Oh, God.
So funny.
I wonder what the death of his friend had to do with him finally coming out and talking about it. Same.
I feel like maybe there was some kind of unspoken, maybe like a threat type situation. You never know. Where he was like, you better keep quiet, you son of a bitch.
But the other guy was talking.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's weird.
Maybe since the other guy who was talking so much didn't take a polygraph, he was embellishing things. Possibly. And yeah, I don't know. But I highly encourage anyone who's interested to do some research into this because it's a very cool story. And the reason I bring up Mothman is because it kind of gives me those vibes. You know, like there were a lot of people who experienced like the Mothman stuff where nobody believed them. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
That's pretty good.
Thanks.
Yay, Brandon's home.
I'm back.
It's really excited to be back, can't you tell?
Yeah.
It's like I can understand everybody on the street. It sucks.
Well, most people in Sweden speak English because their education system is great.
They have a better education system than ours. It's fun.
Yeah, they start learning English around like 4th grade. So
that's what they teach us in 4th grade. Wrong American history.
Whitewashed American history.
Whitewashed American history.
God.
Welcome to the US.
Greatest nation on earth. But yeah, so yeah, it is good to be back. I had a great time, but I'm glad to be back here doing this with you because I missed you.
Now you have to listen to the 2 episodes while you were gone, so you can be mad about what I talked about.
Yeah, apparently you were calling me out. So,
Well, not just calling you bitch, but the subject. It's the same
oh,
subject for 2 weeks.
yeah, I saw the episodes.
Okay.
I just didn't
Checking.
listen to them.
Rude. You didn't want to hear my lovely squeaky voice while you're in Sweden. It's fine.
I just knew I would miss you too much. Anyway, guys, so if you enjoyed today's episode and you want to send us your stories for the listener stories episodes,
especially if you were abducted by alien robots with pinchers.
Yeah, and were you probed? Tell us in detail.
By hot alien chicks?
Yeah, or dudes.
Whatever gets you
or
going.
You know, anything in between.
We are equal opportunity here at GhostWritten.
Yeah, send us them stories. You can contact us through social media at Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at GhostWrittenPod, or you can shoot us an email, ghostwrittenpodcast@gmail.com. And if you would like to support us, this little crazy podcast that we started, what was it? 2 years ago now, Lord.
A little over 2 years now.
Then you can do that by subscribing to our Patreon if you want to. That's patreon.com/GhostWritten. We put the recordings from the episodes on there. We got some bonus content, things like that. It's pretty cheap, so if you can support us, then please do. If not,
Brandon's sweet emo kid hat.
Yeah. And my tattoos.
In this tank top. You mostly can't see me from the neck down because I'm always wearing black.
Yeah, we saved that for GhostWritten After Dark.
It's just more black.
Yeah, it's just actually dark. Like you can't see anything.
I was trying to show Brandon my baby bump earlier, and I was like, "This is Black Bob." There's a baby in there. I swear.
But yeah, if you don't have the means to support us on Patreon, which we completely understand because we have both been broke bitches in our lives, then feel free to rate, comment, subscribe on whatever podcast platform you listen to us on. And yeah, if you ever just want to interact with us, say hi, you can do that on Facebook or other places. And oh my god, I haven't burped this whole time. Hold
on. This has been a GhostWritten burp break.
Thanks for listening, and it's that time.
Like how to get my pregnant ass up out of
alligator sounds.